I arrived in at the audition with Quentin, and first of all, like, it was a massive hero. I'd
Right.
done a play of Reservoir Dogs
Right.
when I was 18. I told him that,
Yeah.
and he was looking at me, and I was like, "We gave the money to charity." And he was like, "Good, man." He was like, "I don't want people making money out of my shit." And I was like, "Okay." I was like,
That took a turn.
I was 18. It was in Killarney in Ireland. It was like we had, I think,
You didn't
sold
miss big bucks. You're
140
good.
tickets.
Exactly.
Prepare your ears, humans. Happy, Sad, Confused begins now.
Hey guys, it's Josh. Welcome to another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. Big one today. Returning champion Michael Fassbender for the 5th time. Yes, he joins the 5-Timers Club on Happy, Sad, Confused. It is a fun conversation I'm very excited to share with you guys in just a second. But first, lots of stuff to announce. A lot of things going on in the Happy, Sad, Confused universe. Live events. And by the way, all of this stuff, as always, check it out on our Patreon page. That's where you get the early announcements, the discount codes, the merch, the autograph stuff, all the cool things. Patreon.com/happy, sad, confused. Check it out. Give it a whirl. Satisfaction guaranteed. Okay, so all the information for these live events is in the show notes, but let me just run it down for you. March 20th in New York City. We've announced this one previously, but just to remind you guys, Nathan Lane, first-time guest on Happy, Sad, Confused. That'll be a blast. Then we just announced this. This is so cool. We're hitting Miami. Miami is going to be welcoming Happy, Sad, Confused for a special live event where we screen Another Simple Favor. Yes, the sequel with Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick. And then following that screening, that special early screening, I'll be sitting down with Paul Feig. He's going to be receiving the Precious Gem Award from Miami. And then I'm going to be recording a live Happy, Sad, Confused event with him there. So very cool. April 6th. If you happen to be in Florida, if you want to make the trip, come see us there. It's going to be a blast. Then if you're in Chicago, if you're in the Midwest, come on out to C2E2, guys. I've been to Chicago, but never to C2E2, which is a very cool con from the same folks that do New York Comic Con. And I'm going to be hosting a bunch of really, really, really cool events there. It all happens on let me get this right. April 12th, Saturday, April 12th. 4 different events I'm going to be hosting. The big one, the marquee one, and settle in. You ready for this? 40th anniversary of The Breakfast Club with the entire gang. I believe this is the first time they've all gathered together. Emilio Estevez doesn't do this kind of thing. He's doing it for us. Apparently, I've heard, by the way, through the grapevine that he's a fan of Happy, Sad, Confused. That's pretty awesome. Never met Emilio. Anyway, yeah, Molly Ringwald, Ali Sheedy, Judd Nelson, Anthony Michael Hall, and Emilio gathering for the first time in 40 years. Epic, epic. I mean, I think they reunited maybe, I think actually at MTV Movie or Video Music Awards at one time, but this kind of event is very rare. So cool. Also, I'll be sitting down with John Boyega. Love John. He's done the podcast before. I'm going to be talking to a couple of the folks from Once Upon a Time, including Lana Parrilla and a couple others, Rebecca Mader, and Sean McGuire, I believe, as well, is going to be on that panel. And I'm also going to be chatting, and this is one that's making my nerd heart very happy. Peter Weller and Nancy Travis to talk RoboCop. Yeah, yeah. So that one's for me. I mean, they're all for me, but that one's like that's in my bones. RoboCop, come on. So, if you're in Chicago, if you want to make plans, make it a trip. Get your tickets now. C2E2. They've got a lot of other very cool folks who are going to be out there. I think Sam Hewen's actually going to be out there. I'm going to try to connect with Sam while I'm there. Anyway, that's a lot, and there's more to come. All right, let's talk about Michael Fassbender for a second, because Michael is one of those rare 5-timers now on Happy, Sad, Confused, and I always love chatting with him. Um, we are we have very, very similar reference points and likes, and I think that's part of why I've always enjoyed chatting with him. I think we're almost exactly a year apart in age. Both grew up obsessed with like 80s stupid TV shows like Knight Rider and Hardcastle and McCormick. Both can quote Big Lebowski backwards and forwards. The only difference is that I host a podcast and he's one of the most charismatic movie and TV stars on the planet. But besides that, we're basically twins. But this is a really fun one. We are chatting about, among other things, his reunion with Steven Soderbergh. You'll remember he was in Haywire about 15 years ago. This new film is Black Bag. It's really great. It's getting fantastic reviews and justifiably so. It's him and Cate Blanchett, Naomi Harris, Regé-Jean Page. And it's kind of a twisty, turny whodunit of sorts about spies. And Cate Blanchett and Michael are a married couple. Yeah, kind of the less you know, the better. But this is like a really riveting, smart script by David Koepp, one of the best screenwriters, most accomplished screenwriters of the last 30 years. So, yeah, check that movie out. I think you guys will dig it. And anyway, Michael and I, of course, cover a lot of other things. We hit some of the famous best films of his career, whether it's Inglorious Basterds, the X-Men films, but also talk a lot of fun audition stories, including one that I'd never heard him talk about. This is probably the first time maybe he's ever spoken about it. But I had heard that he auditioned way back when for Mad Max, and got the dirt from him on what happened, and it's a fun story. So stay tuned for that, among other things. I think that's about it. Oh, I guess I'll just mention this. Sorry, this intro is so long. You can skip past it though. Here's a pet peeve. Folks that get angry at me, I see occasionally a comment be like, he's talking too much during the intro. There's a fast forward button. I'm aware of this. I listen to podcasts too. I watch YouTube. I know there's an ability to literally just like move the thing over. If you don't want to hear me droning on and on, this is a free country. Oh my God. This is all free, guys. What are we complaining for? Anyway, there's my rant. You saw the dark side. I apologize. What was I talking about? I wanted to just mention, I got a chance to host a really fun event in Los Angeles a couple days ago. HBO asked me to moderate their FYC panel for House of the Dragon, which was a great honor. Obviously, I've done stuff with Matt Smith and Emma Darcy. Did a New York Comic Con event with Tom Carney and Fabian Frankel. So it was great to see all of them together. They had really not seen each other in a long time. Also Olivia Cook, who I'd done stuff with way back when, but hadn't seen for a while, and had never met like the showrunners, Ryan and Sarah. Steve Toussaint, hadn't met him. So, and Ewan Mitchell, who seemed lovely. Ran into him a few times at the hotel. Nice guy. And what a great performance in the show. Anyway, I don't know. There's talk that this may turn into a Happy Sad Confused. I have to actually investigate. I think they captured it on video. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully I'll be able to share that with you guys as an actual Happy Sad Confused episode, because it was a really special thing and a rare thing for the cast to gather together. And they're about to go into production very soon, like very soon on season 3. So some small teases for season 3 as well. Okay, that's it. That was a lot. I apologize. But again, you can just fast forward, guys, if you don't want to hear from me and just want to get to the Fassbender. Okay. By the way, thanks everyone for all the great responses to Hans Zimmer. Maybe we'll do more composers. You guys seem to enjoy that one. I did too. So thank you for that. Okay. Michael Fassbender, main event, Happy Sad Confused. Please enjoy it. It was great also to see him in person, by the way. And if you like Fassbender, if you like Steven Soderbergh, if you like good movies, check out Black Bag. It is about to hit theaters March 14th, something like that. It's about to be in theaters, so check it out. And enjoy my chat with Michael Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender in person.
I know.
I don't think I've seen you in physical form in 1,000 years. You exist.
When was the last time?
I mean, pre-pandemic.
I'm going to say 2016.
Don't even say that. That's
throw it out there.
Would make me sad.
I think it could be.
It's good to see you, though, as always.
It's good to see you.
You have a lot going on. We're spreading the good word of Black Bag, Steven Soderbergh. The team's back together.
The team's back together. It took, 15 years ago. Yeah, we last worked together.
I know. Okay, so we're going to get to that. But first, I was saying, you've been in New York for a minute.
Yep.
Is it all press? Are you taking in any culture, anything?
Yesterday, I went to a place where you hit like golf balls into a screen.
That's culture.
I thought it was pretty good. It was cultural.
You're a golfer.
I am a golfer. Obviously, you're not a golfer.
I mean, I'm a miniature golfer.
You know what that was from?
No.
Obviously, you're not a golfer.
No, I missed the reference.
Okay.
Oh, I
yeah,
failed you
yeah,
already.
dude.
Wait, give it to me. What is it?
There's a bowling ball.
Kingpin?
Nope. Big Lebowski.
Your go-to.
What
Damn
the fuck
it.
is this? Obviously, you're not a golfer.
Right, of course.
Does it look like I'm married? The toilet seat is up. Anyway.
There is no anyway. I was going to ask you to do your one-man Lebowski, so we're off to the races already.
Oh, you were? Okay, cool.
You've never done theater here in New York, have you?
I haven't. In fact, I haven't done much theater at all professionally. Just in my bedroom. I did a play right out of drama school, and then I did a play in Edinburgh Festival.
Right.
And that was the last time. That was 2006.
There's no hankering. There's no.
You know, I have been thinking about it actually recently. I'd like to go back to it at some point again.
It's on my list for you. I know you want to know what's on my list for you, what my goals for you are.
Yeah.
One of them is to do theater here in New York.
You know what I thought would make a great play is Steve Jobs, actually. So I'm putting it out there.
1,000,000%.
Aaron Sorkin, if you're
Listening,
watching.
Yeah, he's a big fan.
I think it would be a great stage play.
And you want to be the man for the. Have you done it already? It's in your head.
I've done it already. It's there somewhere. Although, having said that, I was just talking about this yesterday. It's amazing how I forget lines so quickly.
And yet Lebowski's there forever. But your own
Lebowski's
lines.
there forever. There's certain things, and Fletch is there forever. Certain things have just stuck. But the stuff that I've actually done personally, I find it very hard to recall lines that I've done.
Are you a Fletch Lives fan or just the original Fletch?
The original.
Yeah, Fletch Lives. The plantation thing's weird. There's
some scenes that are good. The bend over scene and stuff. Comes to mind. But no, the first one is absolute classic. Could be like one of my favorite of that era. Actually, I think Chevy Chase at that time was just king of the sort of throwaway one-liners.
Totally. What in a nutshell? What is the genius of Lebowski? Is it Jeff's performance? Is it?
I think it's one of those things, because I remember at the time the reviews weren't great.
Right.
And then I ended up watching it, it might have even been video cassette then, I have no idea, or DVD. What I love about it, I guess, first and foremost, is that I just had no idea what was coming next.
Right.
It's so much, when you're watching a film, there's a familiarity there where you kind of know what the trajectory is going to be.
Right.
And I just had no idea what comes next. And the idea, that this guy's signing a check for a carton of milk, just the opening of it, the writing, the characters, and then on sort of, watching it sort of again and again, you just pick up each, little details each time along the way.
What's the favorite moment in the film? I'm thinking back. There's one moment that always, I remember seeing it the first time, it was just, I'll tell you mine. I'll tell you mine.
Yeah, you tell yours.
So when Jackie Treehorn has just left the conversation and he scratches down and discovers what he's been.
That is excellent. But there's so many when they go to see "You're Killing Your Father, Larry."
Right.
That whole sequence to
right.
then.
This is what happens.
This is what happens, Larry. Right to the sequence when then they're in the car and the windows sort of gone in the front and the wind's blowing in, they're eating In-N-Out burgers.
Yeah.
That whole sequence is pretty great, but all of it's sort of gold dust for me. I absolutely love it.
Do you tend to go back and rewatch movies or explore new movies just in your day-to-day enjoyment? Because when I actually caught up with Alicia back at Toronto, and she said that you guys have respective kind of running lists of movies to watch. Do you have a list that's kind of like top of mind?
I was the other night actually. I was just sort of going to watch something before going to sleep, and I was trying to get The French Connection.
Honor of the late great Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
Come on.
And just I don't know how I stumbled across it, but I was watching sort of these Billy Friedkin sort of interviews about shooting it and the whole process, and the casting of Gene Hackman and how he didn't. At one point Gene Hackman wanted out. I think pretty early on.
Right.
Didn't think he was right for the part, and was sort of forever grateful to Friedkin for convincing him to stay.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they didn't have any permits.
I know, they always talk about the
car chase.
The car chase that was really totally illegal and could have gotten everybody killed, basically.
Yeah, I know. And you just think, God, you know, that was the days of sort of, well, health and safety hadn't sort of been introduced.
Yeah.
So I do revisit like old films like there. I watched again in the space of like 6 months twice. I watched Once Upon a Time in America again.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes I just go back to,
Yeah.
you know, the sort of the classics.
Do you ever look at one of my favorite annual traditions, speaking of like rewatching or watching stuff, is Soderbergh's list of all the media he consumed over a year? Do you know he does this?
No.
Oh, you have to check this out. Every year, he keeps like a running log of every book, TV show, movie he watches and consumes, and then publishes it on, like, he has a website, and it's fascinating. I mean, you know the man.
Yeah.
And it's like Real Housewives, Star Wars, and like Tarkovsky. It's like every
my
possible
God.
thing that
That's
he.
amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's such a brilliant mind, and always just so interesting to sort of, you know, have conversations with him. You know, he's quite quiet on set.
Right.
But, you know, anytime you sort of, you know, go to him and approach him and ask him anything, he's just sort of wide open.
Yeah.
He's super generous. And it was a real joy to get back working with him again. Just the sort of atmosphere he sets on set, and just the way he approaches the work, you know, and the fact that he's lighting, you know, operating the camera most of the time.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So for people that don't know, this is, I mean, that's as unusual as it gets. I don't know if you've ever worked with another filmmaker that's operated their own camera, but...
I have, yeah, sometimes, and
Okay.
I'm trying to think who it was. But it's not like a regular thing.
Right, he does virtually everything.
He does everything except the wheels. He says he doesn't like that. There's probably a correct term
No,
for what that
you
is.
do that. That's
the
all you do.
wheels of steel.
So how does that change the dynamic? Because often I talk to actors that, like, you know, you form a relationship with the camera operator, the A-cam.
Absolutely.
And this is your director. So I don't know, just how does that inform your relationship with your camera operator who happens to be your director when it's Steven Soderbergh?
I guess it's just one less person to develop a relationship with, really.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. I always find that you do develop a relationship with the person behind the camera. You know, I guess there's different schools of thought. I like to always sort of acknowledge that the camera is there rather than pretend it's not, and to sort of, you know, establish that relationship. And then, you know, to sort of be able to technically, for focus pullers as well, like give them little tells to allow them to know that you're going to move a certain way, because it becomes a sort of dance between you, that space between you. I really enjoy that, you know, that sort of the technical aspect of that. And with Steven, you know, you just feel his sort of energy behind the camera. He just sort of gives. At the beginning, I guess on day one, you're a little bit like, oh my God, is he happy? Or because we're moving on now after 2 or 3 takes, is he just thinking that's the best I'm going to get out of this guy?
Well, after you've done Fincher, you're like, wait.
Yes, exactly. And you know, I always think of the two of them because they're good friends.
Right.
They're actually very similar in the sense that I always sort of do this analogy. I don't know, it was probably because it's the only thing that I know outside of acting, is like, I think of it like a kitchen.
Right.
And it's like both those guys are sort of would have started off washing pots, and then worked their way through the different stations in a kitchen, and now they're executive chefs.
Right.
You know, but they have a very deep understanding of how to make a film.
Right.
Each department within a filming process have a language for each department, and an overall understanding of cinema, and the history of cinema. But very different ways of executing.
Couldn't be more different. I mean,
their vision.
I mean, when you look at your filmography, from Malick to those two guys, I mean, it's all over the map, and clearly you get something out of every kind of collaboration. Because I was also thinking, like we were talking about, you know, Steven operating the camera. You've probably worked with directors where it's like they're in Video Village, they're like clear on the other end.
Like Ridley, you know, would sit in the tent and there's 5 cameras going,
right?
And he's sitting there like a general, going, you know, A camera, you know, move down, pan in, move to the, you know, B camera, tilt to, you know, to the right a little bit, and it's incredible to watch. And again, all of them are very generous.
Right.
So, you know, they'll share whatever, you know, their experience is with you. And I love that. You know, you sort of, when you jump on board, you follow the vision of the director.
Yeah.
One of the proudest sort of moments for me was actually introducing Malick to Ridley.
Come on.
You know, because we were doing promotion for Alien Covenant at South by Southwest. And Terrence obviously lives in Austin.
Right.
So I was like, come round to the hotel room, you know. And we're sitting there like this, you know, Ridley and Terrence Malick, of that same generation, but very different ways of filming and the process of filming.
I couldn't imagine, like, Ridley, I mean, you know, he's the alpha in every room, but, like, does even he have a little deference to...
It was interesting to see, because obviously there's you know, respect there between them.
Yeah.
But again, just very different, you know, storytellers, you know.
Yeah. Let's follow this butterfly for the next 10 hours.
But yeah, you know, but again, what I found, you know, it's always interesting to find the similarities. Both of them have just unbelievable reservoirs of energy.
Yeah.
You know, there's something about, I guess, that post-World War II generation,
right,
where their fathers had proven themselves in the highest sort of, you know, extreme circumstances you could imagine, and they have that drive to work, and just sort of amazing to think that they don't get tired.
I know. I mean,
and, you know, that's
an inspiration.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's very similar between both of them.
Yeah, I mean, in a career of, like, surreal moments, is, like, being part of Alien, those films, being directed by Ridley, being on those sets, seeing things that are reminiscent of stuff that you grew up watching, is that pretty high up there?
Definitely. I mean, you know, when I sort of got cast in Prometheus, I was shooting some stuff for Shame, and it was actually Steve McQueen. He was like, "You've got to enjoy yourself. You know, you've got to enjoy it.
Take this in."
And that kind of resonated with me. I was like, at the end of the day, I've really got to, you know, enjoy this.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, again, first day on set with Ridley, just great little notes and very actor friendly. I didn't have imagined that going into it, you know, that he would be like that, but he is very much like that.
Did I ever tell you, I had a conversation once with Christopher Walken for a movie, and he ended up spending most of the interview talking about the end of Prometheus with me. And
really?
Yes, I have to get you this tape, because you would really appreciate it on so many levels. I'm not going to do my Walken, but he basically was like, where did that alien come from at the end? It was albino. What was it? I'm trying to understand it. So I think you need to talk to Sir Walken and explain the end of Prometheus, is what I'm saying.
I can just imagine him saying all those things. He was on a flight in front of me from Montreal to New York, and through the whole flight, I was like, "Oh my God, I've got to approach him. I've got to." You know.
What's your opener? What do you do?
Well, we were leaving the plane. I was just like, "Excuse me, you know, Christopher, Chris." I was just like, you know, I'm a big fan, you know, and he was like, "Oh, thanks." He didn't know who I was, you know. No, but it was a real moment. I was very starstruck.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
Deer Hunter, Dead Zone. Where do we go? True Romance.
You know, him reading fairy tales, you know, in Saturday Night Live or whatever that is.
The Continental. Oh my God, those sketches.
You know, just great. And he was actually working with Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright had done Shakespeare in the Park with him here in New York, and he said it still remains the best thing he's ever seen, watching Christopher Walken doing Shakespeare. He said it sounded like he was just coming out with the language there and then on the spot.
All right, so circling back to this experience, reteaming with Soderbergh after nearly 15 years, that's got to be a nice validation. It's one thing to, like, cast you the first time, like, let's take a shot on this Michael Fassbender, but clearly he enjoyed the experience. Had you guys discussed other projects since before Black Bag came up?
We'd always sort of, you know, through the years been in contact, but, you know, it's just one of those things, nothing really sort of landed at the right time or the right place.
Was it very clear when you get the script and you have this conversation?
It happened.
This is going to be it.
Very fast.
Yeah.
He just was like, "Hey, what's up, home slice?" He was like, "Got this thing
Big
for you."
Juno fan. Yeah. Okay.
He was like,
Couldn't figure that one, but sure.
He was like, "Got this thing. Take a look at it. What do you think?" And then I emailed back the next day, and I was like, "I'm in." It was very short,
Love it.
emails back and forth to one
They should
another.
all be that easy.
I know. And then it all happened really fast. Then we were on set a couple of months later, or 3 months later, and we were shooting. It was
What did you click into? What was about the script? It's basically
David Koepp is like so great. I
Yeah.
mean, I just started reading it immediately. I was intrigued again, curious to see what was happening next. There's a real propulsion to the script.
Yeah.
The characters, I could see all of them very clearly. They were very well considered, and it was just obviously really intelligent and funny, and it just moved. I just moved fast through it.
Right.
And then the idea of Steven bringing his visual touch to it and vision, I was like, yeah, it was a very quick decision, and I think that was the same with everyone.
Yeah. It's quite a cast. Yeah, I mean, it's like Mr. and Mrs. Smith with more dinner parties, basically. That's the shorthand.
Exactly. It's like Poirot meets Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. It reminded me in a weird way of, like, I don't know if you ever saw Death Trap. Like, there's some kind of like chamber drama aspect of it in a way. It feels like there's elements that could play as a play, like, extended sequences.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I thought about that a lot. And what I also thought was like, this genre is, obviously there's a lot going on in this genre at the moment.
Yeah.
There's a lot out there. And what I thought was interesting, and we have a sort of lack of these days, is that kind of film in that sort of budget zone for an adult sort of audience, where it is entering into this sort of espionage universe, but it's really the intellectual warfare that's going on.
Right.
And also what's happening internally in this organization, as opposed to an external enemy. It's happening from within.
Yeah.
And one of the suspects on the list is George's wife, who I
Right.
play, George Woodhouse. It is Woodhouse, isn't it?
It
Yes.
is, I believe. It's been a minute. You should know. You're the
I
expert.
should know. Makes me think of Snoopy.
That's the next project.
Is there a Woodhouse in Peanuts?
Sure, let's go with that.
Is there? No, it's Woodhouse is in The Simpsons. No. Where?
I don't know. You have children that watch cartoons, not me.
Sorry.
But no,
Brain fart.
there's something very pleasurable in watching, like, half a dozen intelligent characters really kind of like play this game of wits, battle of wits together.
That's right. And
know?
there's something also interesting about somebody who's not intelligent trying to look intelligent. It is that sort of battle of the wits,
Yeah.
and it's a real whodunit. I think throughout, when I was certainly reading the script and then, watching the film, it really does have that where you're second guessing all the time, right up to the end.
Do you fancy a dinner party? Do you?
I don't think I'll get invited to dinner parties
might ruin
after this movie, seeing that I'm drugging my guests with
the key to a great dinner
DC
party.
27, whatever the hell it is that I put in the chana masala. Doesn't exist, by the way.
Oh, okay, good to know.
Yeah,
That's a relief.
because we were like, what is that serum that gets people to tell the truth? And, Steven, of course, did his research, thankfully, because I didn't. And he was like, it doesn't exist.
Right.
So, they were saying, you just should make something up. So that's where we made up DC, whatever, 17, I can't remember.
I bet in your illustrious, fabulous celebrity life, you've ended up at a dinner party and been like, oh my God, I'm sitting next to this person. Oh my God, they're in this room with me. Does anything pop to mind?
I suppose, meeting musicians.
Yeah.
And Christopher Walken.
Yeah. That was a plane. That wasn't a dinner party.
That was a
just
dinner, but we were sitting down
Okay.
next to each other, although he was in front of me. I was looking at the back of his head. Strange dinner party. Yeah. I'm trying to think of dinners. Yeah, I guess I've been, at galas where there's certain, I can't think. I can't think of any. I remember meeting Laird Hamilton.
Okay.
Which was a big thing.
Yeah.
And Michael Schumacher
Right.
was a big moment for me.
So it's usually folks outside, with Walken as an exception. It's usually musicians, athletes.
I guess, meeting Robert De Niro, it happens a lot. And, working with Quentin Tarantino, doing a scene with John Malkovich and that Criterion classic Jonah Hex. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I have seen it. I covered that one. You weren't at the junket, man.
I was there, but I wasn't there.
Oh.
No.
What's the greatest thing that came out of your experience on Jonah Hex?
I love, working with Josh.
Yeah, he's fun.
Yeah, and John Malkovich.
Yeah.
That was a real moment, Been such a huge fan for a long time, and to be in a scene with him, and he's so softly spoken. And then he goes into like a rage, and then they're like cut, and he's like, when you're in Paris, where do you like to stay? And he's just like, garroted somebody or something. And then, Richard Gere recently, being on a set with somebody like, it's happened a lot in my sort of working career where I'm on set with the likes of Steven Soderbergh, Ridley Scott and Quentin Tarantino, where I'm definitely pinching myself. And
what's been the most nervous you've been in an audition over the years?
Wow, I messed up so many auditions. If there's like young or old actors out there that struggle with it, I struggle with it so much. Yeah. So I always, I hated the chit-chat in an audition.
Let's just get to it.
Which is designed to sort of, relax you. It did the opposite for me, I was like, I just don't care about, I just wanted to get into what I had sort of rehearsed at home.
Right.
So I've always kind of, and even like on set, on, this film, whatever I'm doing, I'm always operating from a place of self-doubt.
Still?
Yeah. It's like, I don't know if it's an Irish thing.
I don't think it is. I think it's an actor. Every actor, this always comes up about when does it go away? It never goes away. Maybe Denzel Washington. I don't know who never doubts themselves.
I don't know.
It's a little depressing, but I guess it keeps you sharp.
It's just the way it is for me, and I guess it means I care.
Yeah.
And it's just that thing. And then when you're in front of the camera, and then you start going and doing it.
Yeah.
Then those things sort of dissipate sometimes. But no, I always kind of operate from that sort of place of insecurity, I guess.
Right. So, okay.
In my life as well, it seems. As a father, I'm like, is that the right thing to do?
Speaking of auditions, here's one that we've never discussed before. It came up in a book I read about the making of Fury Road. Did you audition for George Miller?
Yes. Oh my God, that was one of the worst auditions. Recent. That was back
probably 12 years ago.
Yeah. But thankfully, I haven't had to audition in a while.
Can we relive that for a second? What was it like?
Oh my God, it was awful. First of all, it was before. I'm always trying to sort of thinking, could I get rid of my phone, my smartphone? And then I'm thinking, for the one reason that I need Google Maps.
Yeah.
It's like my sense of direction is terrible.
Yeah.
So bad that if my intuition says go right, I go the opposite way. And so I was going to Warner Brothers in the Valley, not complicated. I had those printouts, on the seat next to me in the car, take a left here or whatever, and I got lost. And I ended up getting to the audition almost like an hour late. And so I was not in the correct headspace. They were kind of
just like Max. Max was not a good driver.
I know, I should have been more like Max, where I'm like, whatever, But I arrived and I was like, I'm so sorry. And they were like, fine. And then George Miller has this acting coach. And it was like, it was so excruciating. I've been classically trained. So, I have my process of, obviously there's an objective that the character has and activities that I'm going to play to get it. So I felt like, you're teaching your granny how to suck eggs here. This guy really got on my nerves. And he was like, I want you to say this phrase, get out of the room. But I want you to physicalize it, Michael. He was like, get out of the room. Get out of the room. So I was like, get out of the room. Get out of the room.
They're like, no, you don't have to do the hand thing. I do the hand thing.
He was like, what are you doing? And I was like, no, I was doing the get out of the room and physical. It was so, I couldn't wait to get out of there.
So
and obviously I didn't get the part.
That didn't go further after that day.
No, obviously, Tom Hardy got the part, and deservedly so.
Speaking of Tom Hardy, so you are contemporaries, and I found this very telling. He talked about how you guys went to school together.
We went to drama school together, yeah.
And how that...
I think it was the year behind, or
I think
maybe even 2 years
I think he said that you were 2 years ahead.
2 years ahead, yeah.
And this is striking to me because I think of Tom Hardy as, extreme, eccentric in the best possible way. I love Tom. I really do. Truly. But he's talking about you in drama school as the guy that was extreme. Like,
yeah, I
that
was.
He was like, you were doing a play, you were in a wheelchair, and you stayed in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Outside of the play.
Yeah. I was very much like that when I was younger. Now I'm not like that at all. But I was very much, into... the method, the actor studio here was kind of like the mecca for me. I would have loved to have come here and studied in New York. But yeah, I used to very much think, live in it, live and breathe the character all the time while you're in it. And then, as I sort of left that drama school and got into sort of, working professionally, I then just sort of tailored my own style. And now I prefer to sort of go in and out, and to be able to step in and out of it.
It's also self-preservation as a human being.
Yes, 100%.
Like if you're doing something like Shame, like, oh my God, you don't want to be in that headspace.
Yeah, that was definitely the
like,
darkest one. That the residue sort of lasted a while with that.
Yeah.
But I guess because the way I was working as well, I was jumping from one project to the next. I used to do 3-4 films a year sometimes. And it was it wasn't by design. It just, you sign up for something, it gets delayed, and next thing you know, they're all sort of back to back. So just for self-preservation.
Right.
Yeah, and also, to sort of keep friendships. I didn't want to, if you're meeting friends for dinner, and
they don't want to meet the guy from Shame.
Henry the 8th is coming in again. Here we go. It's going to get messy.
Yeah.
The guy from Shame arrives at the dinner table, is hitting on everyone's wife. Not a good look.
No.
So yeah, I kind of made that sort of transition.
Thank goodness for your kids. They don't want to see the characters you've played at home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. When can they watch my films? Yeah.
Have you, again, speaking of auditions, I don't think, did you audition for X-Men or even Inglorious?
I did audition for X-Men.
Oh, you did?
And I did audition for Glorious.
Oh, I'm wrong, okay.
I auditioned for X-Men, and James was there and was so generous and great. It was a huge help for me. And yeah, he was already cast. So I came in, auditioned for Eric. We did a couple of scenes together. And
did you feel confident that wasn't a Mad Max situation? You felt in the room that you were...
I felt good there. I felt like I had a confidence that I was going to sort of take this character, which was unusual for me. But I had gathered some confidence and experience, through stuff that I'd done. Hunger was a big thing to do, and to.
I mean, looking back, it's remarkable that casting, that film, First Class, worked as well as it did, because you're succeeding to iconic actors in iconic performances.
Definitely. It's good when the pressure's on, I feel like pressure's good. And it sort of, really sort of...
focuses you up.
Yeah. And then the Inglorious Bastard audition, I flew myself to Berlin on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I was shooting Fish Tank. And... I think I've told you this before, but I had my agent, Michael Cooper in the States had really hunted down Quentin and was like, oh, you got to see this guy. And he was like, Landa's an amazing part. And they was like, you want to take a look at Landa and Hickox.
Right.
So I was like, well, I'm shooting Fish Tank and I don't have time to do both. So I did about 25 to 30 hours prep on Landa.
No kidding.
Yeah, because he speaks French, German, then he speaks, English with a German accent. So I did so much prep for it. I did nothing for Hickox. And then I arrived in at the audition with Quentin. And first of all, it was a massive hero. I'd done a play of Reservoir Dogs when I was 18. I told him that, and he was looking at me, and I was like, we gave the money to charity. And he was like, good, man. He was like, I don't want people making money out of my shit. And I was like, okay. I was like, that took a turn. I was 18. It was in Killarney in Ireland. It was like, we had, I think, sold
big bucks.
140 tickets.
Exactly.
And then he was like, okay, let's take a look at Hickox. And I was like, oh, maybe I could read for Landa. He was like, I cast Landa on Tuesday. And I was like, maybe I could read for him. He's like, look, man. He was like, I cast Landa on Tuesday. I was like, right. It's like, Hickox. Let's take a look at Hickox. And so
How are you on cold reads? Because you're about to get one.
Yeah, so I did a cold read on it. And you know, he's reading all the other characters opposite you, which is a trip as well.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you're sitting there, it's quite surreal. And I thought I blew it. You know, I thought I messed up the audition. I left the audition. I went to a bar around the corner, ordered a double vodka tonic, and I called my parents. I was like, I think I just blew it, you know. And then, you know, went back to work on the Monday, and the following Friday I got the call and got the job. So it was funny.
Back to X-Men, did you feel a little FOMO did you see Deadpool Wolverine? It was a little kind of like a goodbye to the Fox universe in a way.
I know, I haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently they've taken a little extract from, because I signed off and something.
Yeah,
so.
in the credits there's kind of like a lovely homage to the work you guys did.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, no, I think, you know, for me, and, you know, I'm sort of betraying my own people, but I think my favorite of the comic book sort of series world would be Deadpool and Iron Man, actually.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Just a movie-wise or comics? Excuse me.
No, movie-wise.
Movie-wise, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the inevitable? I mean, they're going to cast somebody as Magneto. You're going to pass the baton at some point.
I think it's great. I'm excited to see who does it.
The latest crazy rumor, I don't think this is real, by the way, but is Denzel.
As Magneto.
Yeah.
I mean, brilliant.
Yeah.
He's a heavyweight.
Yeah. If you're going to pass the baton on, maybe that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think I could pass the baton on to Denzel. I mean, he's incredible. I love that film, Flight.
Yeah. That was a return for Zemeckis. That was a good one.
A great return, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's so strong in it.
Speaking of filmmakers, movies that we grew up on, what's the 80s movie or TV show, rather, to reboot as a movie that you want to star in? Do we go Knight Rider? Do we go Greatest American Hero? Are you playing Alf? Who do you want to play from the 80s canon?
Good question. I would go for something maybe a little bit more obscure.
Okay.
Hardcastle and McCormick.
You could play both of them?
Which one is?
I don't remember which one.
The guy in the white, was it a Lancia? I can never remember
I'll
what
be
that
honest,
was. It a kick car?
I don't think I've seen Hardcastle and McCormick since I was 9. Yeah.
I think that would be a good one. I mean, if we're talking about, you know, Black Bag, I guess Scarecrow and Mrs. King is
That's
of that
good.
world.
That's good.
I love Miami Vice, and I actually love the Miami Vice film as well.
I do too.
I think it's great. As soon as it opened up with like, no.
Yeah, it's a...
And the Range Rovers pull up outside, you know, the club. I was like, I'm in. And then, you know, taking the cigarette boat to Cuba for mojitos. I was like, brilliant.
I'm a fiend for mojitos.
Yeah.
And Colin, who like...
I thought he was great in it.
Colin is great, and he's talked about, like, he was not in a good way. Like, this was, like, when he was going through it.
Yeah.
And somehow he squeezed out kind of a great performance.
I thought it was great. Plus, you're following the great Don Johnson. I mean, you know, he is Sonny Crockett.
Yeah.
The pilot of the series, I think, is amazing.
Totally.
I love when they're driving to the sort of, you know, the meat at the end of the movie, and he's like, how much time we've got?
Yeah.
And Tubbs is loading the shotgun.
I know, there's no talking,
like
then it's just like,
in The Air Tonight, you know, Phil Collins is playing. Then they pull over and he gets into this, you know, phone box.
Right.
Brilliant. You know, calls the ex-wife. He was like, it wasn't all bad, was it? Like, brilliant.
You'd be great. Michael Mann. Have you ever met with Michael Mann?
I have met with Michael Mann, yeah. You know, obviously one of the absolute greats. But, you know, getting back to Don Johnson, delivering those kind of lines.
Yeah.
There's two actors that stand out for me that can deliver lines that border, let's say, on cheese.
On self-parody a little bit. Yeah, I got you.
Patrick Swayze.
Yep.
And Don Johnson.
Yeah.
Nobody does it better.
Well, the trifecta, you could do it.
I'll try. I did a film called Kung Fury 2.
We're never seeing it. I've given up.
Which we were just talking about.
I mean, you shot this 5-6 years ago? This is like legal crap, though.
Did I show you what I look like in it?
No. Can you show me after, please?
Yeah, I'll show you after. Yeah. I really hope it comes out for David Sandberg, you know, more than anybody, but it's.
Was there ever a real Bond conversation? I mean, I guess if you're of a certain age and you have a certain accent, you're in the Bond conversation just through the media. But like, did you ever meet with Barbara Broccoli and have that conversation?
I've met with Barbara Broccoli just, you know, through passing, and I actually went in for like an audition phase before Daniel was cast.
Oh, really?
But I was never don't think I was ever in the mix. But I remember going into that room and sort of, meeting with her and Wilson and I was like, I think Daniel Craig is, I don't know why I was promoting him. I should have been promoting myself. This is what I was saying. I was terrible at auditions.
Here's a list of other actors.
Yeah,
No.
and obviously Daniel, did a fantastic job and went on to, I think, be the most successful Bond in history. But that was it, really. There was never a conversation after that.
You would have been a kick-ass Bond. It's not over yet. Still could be.
I think it's over. It's over. But Reggae, who's in this movie...
They always mention him. He could be great.
I think after, people see his performance in this, he could be a front runner.
Maybe you move into Bond villain territory.
I also thought Aaron Taylor-Johnson was a really good call.
Yeah. He's a physical beast, by the way. I don't know if you shared time with him. And that guy walks in the room, you're like, oh, he's going to kick the ass of everybody.
He works out. And he's also very good.
He's great. He's great.
Yeah.
So on the agenda, have you done Hope yet with Alicia?
Yes.
You shot it?
Yes.
Wait, I heard an interview. You didn't shoot together?
No. We were so excited.
This defeats the purpose, Michael. What happened?
I know. We were like, finally, we get to do a film together. And we're huge fans of director Na.
Right.
I love The Wailing and The Chaser, Yellow Sea. And so she actually reached out to him some years back, and they were sort of then, in correspondence. So then it just came to us, this film that he was doing.
Yeah.
I actually, because of Black Bag and because of the agency and my schedule, I had to go out first and do my stuff, and then I worked with her stand-in. And then she went out, a month later and did the same, worked with my stand-in.
Right.
But I'm super excited to see what they come up with, because it was so much fun. I love Korea and Koreans, and just the chance to work over there and experience that culture. It was a real treat. So I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Do you tend to talk about each other's work? Because this came up again when I was talking to her pretty recently, that she doesn't necessarily enjoy watching her work for the first time with you.
No, and I hate watching my stuff with her. I hate watching my stuff. It's like listening to your own voice on a phone. But certainly with her, because I really want to impress her.
Still trying. One of these days, you will earn her respect.
One of these days. So I'm always worried about how she'll take it, and I think she feels the same. We're very similar as well in terms of our insecurities and about how we approach the work. I'm always most nervous watching it with her.
I bet you're really good story time for the kids. You do a lot of voices, impressions. I could imagine Michael Fassbender doing all the, when it's time to do Harry Potter, you're going to do all the voices.
I hope so. There's sometimes, when my son is sort of asking me to, tell me a story, and I got to make one up, where I'm just like, I'm so tired. I was like, and it's. I would like to think that I can take a good story, but then I hear like my nanny, and I was like, she's doing a better job than me. I got to work on this.
That's what's keeping you sharp now as an actor, is your nanny.
Exactly. I was like, how do I keep my child entertained? Don't look at me. I've got this. Watch.
So Agency Season 2 is coming. That's next on the docket.
Yeah.
There must have been a sense of almost relief, because I'm sure that's a big thing to jump into, to do that ongoing series, 10 episodes. You'd never done something like that.
Absolutely.
The caliber of actors speaks for itself, but the fact that it worked, audience responded, and you clearly found it creatively satisfying.
Yeah, listen, I was very nervous, to be honest. It was an intense year last year, because both those projects came in the same week, and I sort of, joined on to Black Bag, and then this came, and I was like, I really want to do this.
Yeah.
And we managed to make it work. But I for sure, first time doing television, massive respect for people, in that field of you've got to hit the ground running. You've really got to understand, you come into a scene, you've got to block it quickly. And the volume of dialogue to learn, obviously it's 10 episodes, and then you just hope that audiences are going to take to it.
Yeah.
And thank God, it sort of worked out that way.
All right, we're going to end with the happy, sad, confused, profoundly random questions, Michael.
Got it.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
You've got this. There's no way to get this wrong, though you might be the first. Who knows? We'll see.
That could happen. Yeah.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Okay.
I like them both, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite video game of all time?
You know what? I don't play a lot of video games. I guess racing games.
Okay.
You know, but I do remember the Atari.
Sure.
Our neighbours had one, and I was very jealous. And there was a helicopter game that I loved. It was just sort of the helicopter went through. I can't remember what it was called.
The same movement in the Mad Max audition. It all goes
Get out of the room. Slowly. Oh my God! And then I did, exit the room in that audition. They were
Do you
all
like
happy.
this? Because I'm doing it for real.
Yeah, I'm going this time.
This is the Dakota Johnson Memorial question. She asked me this. Would you rather have a mouthful of bees or one bee in your butt? Yeah.
I'll take it in the butt.
Everybody just let it sit there. No one speak. That's acting. Look at that. What's the wallpaper on your phone?
Oh, it's my family. Yeah, Alicia and the two boys.
Nice. What's the worst note a director has ever given you?
Ooh, okay, good one. Jeez.
Go to that dark place.
I'm trying to think. I guess getting a note, this happens, where I'm doing it already, and the director will give me the note of something that I was showing.
Right, then you're in your own head. You're like, what do I do?
Well, I'm like, I just did that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But now, like, whenever I get a bad note, I go, got it.
Yeah, just ignore, basically. Just continue.
But it's been a while. I'm lucky to
In the spirit of happy, second to you is an actor who always makes you happy. You see them on screen, you're happier.
Jonah Hill.
Nice, I love that. Yeah. Movie that makes you sad.
We're just talking about it recently. A Star is Born, but it makes me happy also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When's the musical?
I've been putting it out there for years. Nobody's approaching me. It'll probably coincide with my Christmas album.
Okay. And a food that makes you confused. You don't get it.
Tofu.
What's the purpose?
Not tofu, sorry.
What?
Fondue.
Oh, fondue.
They sound the same.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Fondue.
I don't know. It just makes me think of Swingers. Not the movie, but
The actual, yeah. Come over, couples, just a lot of cheese, hot cheese and
I don't know
and
why
sex.
I see like pajamas and
Sure.
cheese and
This has really
bits
turned
of
into
bread.
the worst therapy session ever, or best. I'm not really sure. We've had a number of great therapy sessions over the years. In fact, this is your 5th time on Happy, Sad, Confused. You know what happens? You get a hat.
Oh, really?
You get a hat.
Nice.
Wear it with pride.
I love it.
Look at that. This is fashion.
This is fashion.
Welcome to the Five Timers Club, buddy. It's always good to see you. Black Bag, everybody check it out. Soderbergh doing what he does best. An amazing cast. David Koepp. What more do you want, people?
I know. I'm very lucky, and I think it's a great. It's a movie. You know,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
made a movie, and it should be seen in the cinemas if possible.
Yes. It's good to see you, man, as always.
You too,
Really
man.
appreciate you.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, bud.
Cheers, man.
And so ends another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. Remember to review, rate, and subscribe to this show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm a big podcast person. I'm Daisy Ridley, and I definitely wasn't pressured to do this by Josh.